houses.
You're on the speaker.
We were the only one up there in the end.
You're on. What'd you say?
Call to order of a work session, Goodyear City Council, February 22nd, 2010. All items listed are for discussion only. No action will be taken. 6 members of council are in attendance.
5.
5? No. That's right. Councilmember Osborne is not with us. And so we'll excuse her at our special meeting, regular meeting. Okay, so we have 5 members of our council in attendance. We have only one item on this work session agenda, and that's the results of the 2010 Citizen Satisfaction Survey. And pass it on to Paula Alardo.
Thank you, Mayor. Today, I'm going to go really fast. We have 54 slides in 30 minutes. So basically, there are 400 random telephone surveys. We've been doing it this way since 2001, where we used DMCC. 2004, 7, and 10, we used a professional company, the same one, Behavior Research, to do these. This is random computer-generated telephone sample. They were conducted in late January and evenings and weekends. And it's basically the same design that we had for 2007 with some special questions asked each year. It's about a 20-minute survey. We had 84 questions. And the important thing about a 400 sample size is that there's a 5% sampling error. So when we look at the data, especially the total sample, we have to see 6% or more to know that it's significant, and it's just not sampling error. So those are the only ones I'll be pointing out to you, is if it truly is a significant difference. When we look at subsamples, such as by age or by area of the city, then it needs to be a 10% difference to be significant. Okay, these are the areas. When I refer to north, it's the area north of I-10. When I refer to central, it's between I-10 and the river. And when I refer to the southern area, it's basically Estrella, south of the river. The profile of respondents in those areas is basically surprised that the people in the north are the oldest population. The people in the southern area are younger, but the youngest are in the central area. We have just over half of our population under 40, of our respondents under 49, and about 47% are over 49%. We had 55% females and 45% males. Now the interesting thing is, it continues in 2007, from 2007 to 2010, that we have a highly educated population. 85% of our households are headed by someone who is college educated. Whoa. Now that can include just some college. Over half of our households, which is higher than it was before, last year, or in 2007 was 49% college graduates. So now 56% of our households have at least one household head with a college degree.
Would you say that again?
At least one household head has a college degree, 56% of the households.
Okay. So man and woman in the house, if one has a college degree.
We call it a household with a college degree.
All right, okay.
Headed by someone with a college degree. Okay, length of residency in Goodyear in 2007, our population was 50-50. 50% here less than 5 years, or 50% here more than 5 years. Now, as we've aged, all of 60% have been here more than 5 years, but we also have almost 20% who have lived in our city for 10 years now. We looked at the employment status of our respondents and also asked them about their spouses. As you can see with the respondents, yellow is 2010 and the purple is 2007. There are significantly less of our respondents were employed and significantly more were unemployed. I think it's a good indication of the economy, and somewhat the same with spouses. We looked at how many of our households have someone in the family who's employed in Goodyear. 76% of our households do not have a household head employed in our city. Now, therefore, about 25% do, and 8% of those households actually have 2 people employed in the city. Those people who are commuting, as you see here.
Sorry again, but On the unemployed, 13%. You know, in the U.S., we say about 10% are unemployed, people who have actually are seeking benefits and that sort of thing, and about 17% are actually not employed. Does the 13% correlate to the 17?
All we asked them was their status. Are you employed, unemployed? And
So it probably applies to the 17%.
I would think so.
All right.
Whether they are or not drawing benefit or asking benefits, that's
Yes.
what they would say they are. Okay, now those people who are commuting, the yellow box on both of them shows that about 80% of the population is commuting out, are going at least, this is showing one-way miles. So both the residents and the spouses are commuting 80% more than 20 miles round trip a day. So 80% go more than 20 round trip a day. Almost 40% go more than 40 miles round trip a day. So that's why you'll hear a lot of people in this presentation saying we want jobs. The annual income has not changed since 2007. I guess that was to be expected. Still, about half of our households are earn greater than $75,000, and 3/4 over $50,000. We asked voter registration for the first time. Turns out that 92% of our households are registered voters. So therefore, I didn't really look at too many things by voter because it was pretty much representative of everyone. Profile of registered voter, from what we can see, I think is expected. The youngest are the least of our registered voters. The highest, which I was sort of surprised at, is between age 35 and 49, and then dropping a bit as they got older. Of course, length of residence, if people who've been here 6 or plus years, we have more registered voters among that group than the other. Okay, we're almost split between how many households have children and don't. Less than 50% have children, and those who do, that's pretty much spread across age groups fairly evenly. Of all the homes with children in our city, the most are in the central region, or central area. 60% of all the homes with children are in the central area. And so we asked the households, are you interested in getting a college degree? And I think it's typical that the younger the household, the more likely they are. While 38% of the total said they're interested in a college degree, 63% under 35, age group 57 and 35 to 49. And then by area, 59% were in the central area, which can be expected because that's where the younger people live. 75% of the teens live in the central area. We asked what degrees they were seeking, and it's 53% said they'd be seeking the bachelor's degree. And we asked what areas of study, and healthcare was first, followed by computer technology, business, teaching, and then liberal arts. Now, when we go to the area about how Goodyear is a place to live, we're not seeing many differences from the past two surveys. Still, 90% feel, when we combine excellent and good ratings, that it's an excellent place to live. The only difference would be the central area does rate it significantly lower overall than, say, the north. In neighborhood quality of life, when we said, okay, in your neighborhood, how is it? Okay, overall 85% have said that they're satisfied with the quality of life. It's good or excellent. This is really high rating, and it's not significantly different than the past years. The significance, though, there is significant difference in the central area that they did rate it significantly lower than the other areas of the city.
Understandable.
Is there a specific reason why?
No,
That
I mean,
just-
we don't ask that question, so it would be speculation. Then we ask overall your perception of your safety day and night. And if you look with this, we had the same exact question since 2001, so we were able to compare it. In day, over a 10-year period, we're still perceived as 98% safe, even though the population has tripled. At night, okay, it's down a little it's not significantly down from last year. Its only significance is down from 10 years ago, that we've dropped about 10%. And I would say with a population that has tripled, that's really good. Obviously, we know crime is down, so these are some of the highest ratings you'll see a city get in safety. We ask open-endedly, what is the most important problem facing the city? They had to come up with the ideas on their own. The biggest was city budget problems, followed by the need for jobs and employment, followed by the housing and foreclosures. So the top three this year were all economy related. Crime got 7%, and after that it was 5% and lower, which almost doesn't count. And I just put these on here to show you could see in 2007 and 4, when we were growing so rapidly, the major problems then were too much growth, too much traffic congestion, and we don't know what that means. They could be using I-10 as well as our own streets when they refer to traffic congestion. We then ask them open-ended, what can the city do then to make it more livable? And the top answer, and it has been for years too, is more parks and recreation. This year, more jobs, again you see, came up. And interestingly enough, more dining and shopping got 8%, but you'll see from go back. No. I don't know.
Shouldn't this do it?
It didn't do it. Okay, I didn't hit it hard enough. Keep going. There, thank you. The the dining, in 2004, that was 12%. Now it's only 8%. So we've added a lot of things in the past 5 years. Improved city services, you can see that it's gone down every year because we've added a lot of services also in the past 5 years. We also ask how well the city has done balancing the budget. Basically, we got 58% overall, excellent and good ratings combined, so it's a positive response. The only differences were in the 35 to 49-year-old, they were rather negative in comparison, significantly so. And in the north, they were significantly more positive than the other areas. We ask about their attitude toward the continuation of the increased half-cent sales tax. Overall, we got generally a 64% positive response. The answers, the questions were, I don't mind keeping it longer than 3 years if it helps keep services. That's 1/3. Remove it, but not until the economy is stable, even if it takes longer than 3 years. The next group, they could have answered any 4 of these questions. It's important to remove it in 3 years, no matter what the economy is, no matter what shape the city's in. And the most negative is make every effort to remove it before 3 years, no matter what. So at this point, I would call the top 2 sort of negative, because even though the 15% said you could keep the tax for 3 years, but then get rid of it. So overall, it's basically 64% were positive at this point and are willing to keep it until the economy or the city stabilize. And those with the attitude toward that tax, where overall total 64%, men are less likely to be favorable to this, and as you got older, less likely. And it's interesting, the ones most positive are in the southern area of the city. And by voter, there was no difference. We also asked them to look again and talk about the design, look, quality of the commercial development in our city. That again was rated 84%. Now we get to the overall satisfaction with services. As you can see, almost no difference. The South is not a significant difference, even though it tends to be a little bit lower. So for all the years and with the cuts we've taken, there has been no noticeable difference in their satisfaction. Now this is it's hard to read. This is all the services that we asked to be rated this year in 2010, with the top being,
Weekly curbside.
thank you, weekly curbside trash, and then the recycling and fire protection, paramedic services, cleanliness of our parks, and police protection. Those are the top that we call very good, above 8. Now, the next, which are good, would be condition of the parks, stormwater runoff on major streets, the twice monthly bulk trash, amount of water pressure, neighborhood street repair, street reconstruction, amount of large community parks, and people meeting city code standards. All those rated above 7 out of 10. Now, what I call fairly good, John and I were talking, said something's rated 6.5 out of 10 is still pretty good, pretty darn good, but there's communication with residents, traffic congestion, arts and culture, and our water quality. What we consider sort of average and about the 5 is attracting quality jobs for our community and public transportation. Now I took those and I divided them in half because I couldn't get them all on one chart, and took 7.5 and above so you could compare them to 2007 and see if they've changed. So you can see all of these. They really have not changed significantly, except for twice monthly bulk trash, which we could have expected is lower than it was when it was weekly trash. But to still have a 7.6 after we've changed the program a couple times this year is a high rating. And then the other ones that are rated under 7.5, communications with the residents has gone down significantly. It's still 6.9, almost 7, but it could be because now we're only communicating with them every other month as opposed to monthly, which they were used to. Traffic congestion is rated higher, and attracting quality jobs is rated lower than it was in 2007. Because we have 2 different water companies, I just need to show you this. On water quality, we rated it 47% overall, excellent or good. By area, Lipscomb Water was rated much higher, unfortunately. And but with water pressure, it's the same no matter which water company. The importance of the city providing new city services. The only ones, after school programs we didn't ask last year, and the circulator buses we didn't ask last year. Again, senior services ranked number 1. After school programs this year rate number 2, and followed by transit. The interesting thing is now that times aren't so good, the need for the multi-gen center looks like it's down. The performing arts center again is down significantly, and the aquatic center especially is really down significantly. We also asked what new amenities that we're not providing would improve your quality of life in Goodyear. Again, the freestanding public library rated number 1. Astoria Falls Mall, number 2, and the 4-acre job corridor, number 3. Those were not rated as high as high last year. Bringing in ASU, which is new this year. Bringing in private colleges, actually was a little significantly lower. Bringing in Building City Center was a whole point lower, as was Performing Arts Center. We asked how much art in public places helps define a community. And overall, you know, a lot, the white means a lot. So 40% of our population thinks it's really important. 78% in total said a lot or some. And that is higher among the younger households. And it's also more important, the most important in the southern area of the city, 91%. And when they asked what they needed in a multi-gen center, the tops was the indoor gym for basketball and volleyball, 22%, followed by fitness equipment, classrooms, indoor pool, auditorium, performing stage, and the rest of them are very pretty small numbers. Okay, we ask again every year. We've asked this for all 3 years. Have you had contact with the city? About a third of the people every year, in the past year, have contacted the city. The only difference we saw this year was that when we asked, were you treated courteously and timely, there was a difference. And I'd say 85% and 75% are really high ratings. But for us, they're significantly lower than they were in the past 2 years. So that means we need to brush up on our customer service skills. We don't do nearly as much training as we did in the past. Now, this hasn't been talked about for a long time, but we kept the question on about when in 2007, the Public Safety Citizen Advisory Committee had just completed. They had recommended that we go forward someday in the future again with a sprinkler ordinance for newly constructed households. In 2007, this number that's strongly agreed was 68%. This year, the strongest among the under 49 group, significantly more popular in Australia. There was no difference among registered voters. The difference was that with no communication about this in 3 years, 32% were strongly agreed, where in 2007 that was only 23%, and that's a significant difference. We look at viewership, readership of West Valley View for advertising purposes, and at this point, 88% of our population reads that. It's the most widely read local newspaper. And Southwest Valley Republic, which was much newer in 2007, had 53% never reading it back then, but the readership is going up now that it's been in existence another 3 years. The important thing to us is looking at In Focus and how many people were reading that. Back in 2004, this study proved to us that by being inserted in the West Valley View, 53% of our people said they seldom or never read it. So then we decided to mail it in home. Since it's been mailed in home in 2007 and 10, the readership has gone up to about 71%. Now, I can tell you that we still had 10% of the people report to us they've never received it, which is upsetting, and we'll be talking to the post office about that because it's carriers who have to just deliver this. It doesn't have their address on it. And 54% of the people said they read every issue. Now, by age, we wanted to look at that because I suspected, and as is, the readership increases with age of In Focus. You're going to find the opposite when you get to internet. Now, as usual, I mean, this hasn't changed. About 85% of our households have internet at home. We looked at usage by age. In the total sample here this year in 2010, 74% of our households have visited our website. That's up significantly from about half of our population, which had visited in 2007. And as you can see with all of these, the younger the people, the more likely they are to have used the internet. The interesting thing is that every age group has increased significantly in their trips to the website, especially 35 to 49, which has gone from 50% to 90% in use of our website. And basically, since 2004, they've rated it 84%, say it's easy to use. The mean rating of when we said, okay, and rate us on a scale of 1 to 10, has gone up this year. And among the young people who use it, it's an 8.5. We also, all of these years, we've asked about the usage of bulk trash. Now, I'm showing you just 2004 and 7 on this chart because it was collected weekly and we asked the question differently. At that point, 25% had used it weekly or twice monthly, 75% using it monthly or less. Now we deliver it twice a month, and that number hasn't changed. About 25% of it do put it out twice a month, but still 77% of the population only use it monthly or less. Back in 2007, when we asked about possible changes to City Hall hours, Avondale had just hinted about the idea of doing it, so it wasn't common. But at that time, 67% said it's okay if you close on Fridays, and 75% liked the idea of extending Monday through Thursday hours. Now, it appears that this has gone up significantly, and it's probably because they're more used to it, and they've heard of it a lot more in the last 3 years. We ask about how people feel about the all-mail ballot. The blue is that I want all-mail, and the purple is prefer the polls. So basically, 80% of the population likes the all-mail ballot, and that really is no different by age or where they live. Sons, this is a summary. I've summarized everything, so I can go through that and get to 6, or I can just stop and ask if you have any questions.
Questions?
Just one quick, you had mentioned, again, the central part of the city was one of the areas where we had one of the lower, as far as pleasure with our city services. How can we follow up to find out what that may be?
Well, it'd have to be it won't be from this study. It would have to be on
that.
something else. We could maybe do a web study for one, or we could send, we could do it through In Focus, asking people in that area. I mean, you have the most children in that, I can speculate a little bit. We have the most children in that area, and you have you have no community park, for instance, in that area.
And I think also you have the most home foreclosures, the stress of the economics and everything else in that particular area.
I just think it would be helpful. Maybe there's something that we could do, but I'd be curious just to find out. And again, I know you can speculate on it, but I'd be kind of curious if we could follow up to see what that issue may be.
So we can talk about how we can do that.
Yes, sure. Thanks.
That's worthwhile doing. Yeah, historically, it's the central area that's been the least satisfied of our
This
three
isn't new.
areas. You know, but we do need to work that.
And there's, the other thing we've talked about in the past, there's not as much shopping there and stuff, so some of that can lead to it.
Not as
Right.
much
And
any.
I think the parks, they wanted a park, and they wanted some kind of amenities, and we just haven't furnished that. We've gone from the north to the south and the central.
Well, and a lot of the south and the north have their own amenities built in. So there's a difference there where the central doesn't have that, and it's, they're dependent on the city, and we haven't gotten there yet.
Any other questions?
No, very good.
Okay, thank you. Good job, and I'm sure we'll be discussing it over the next several months in different ways.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, why don't we adjourn, and we'll start this up. Eddie needs 5 minutes, so we'll start just a little bit after 6, okay?